competitive. We were on the front foot. We started pressing high, creating enormous problems. We had chances, and we sustained that through the first half. In the second half, a set piece changes the game, of course, and then becomes much harder. The game totally changed, and Chelsea took control, and it was a better team on the second half.
What part did N'Golo Kante play, do you think, in changing the game?
Huge part. N'Golo is unique. It's one of a kind, and then to have him on the pitch makes such a huge difference to everything. And it was about to improve our style of play from energy, from ball wins, from closing down spaces, from a higher intensity, and that's why we brought on N'Golo, because he embodies all of that, and of course he played a big role in that, but the whole team played much better, and we deserved to win from there.
It was very close in the first half, but your team were very dominant in the second period.
Yeah, I think it was a very good half from Tottenham. They put a lot of intensity. It was difficult for us, but we reacted very well in second half, and we are happy with the 3 goals and with the result.
So when we compare the stats from the first half to the second half, it's much more nuanced and subtle than this. But the change that Thomas Tuchel made at half-time by bringing Kante on and taking Mason Mount, who's an outstanding England regular, off, what was the impact that had on the game so that it's translated into goals and all those stats up there?
OK, so Spurs had a lot of the football in the middle of the park. And Thomas Tuchel, he realised that. Kane was dropping in there, they had an extra man, and Spurs were popping it about, not really doing anything with it because they were poor. But he went, OK, let's put Kante in there. Let's have Jorginho in there and Kovacic in there. And let me just, the fullbacks, you just go and do whatever you want to do. And I'll have 3 at the back. There you go. Simple as
so you block up midfield, let the fullbacks go forward.
The centre-halves had nobody to mark because Keane was in there. Sons is not an out-and-out centre-forward, so he's not going to occupy the 2 centre-halves as well. So he said, I'll just have 3 at the back that are going to defend. I'll have the 3 in the midfield that are going to do that. And the rest of you, go and win the game. It was just really simple, but very clever to notice that and have the strength to say, right, you, who are a very good player, you come off, Kante, you go and do that job for me I'm asking you to do. And it changed the game.
Utterly changed the second half. And as soon as they got their noses in front, Chelsea, from the corner, it felt like that was it, wasn't it? And here, it's a great header from Thiago Silva. What about Dele Alli in here, Dom?
Not great. Well, Dele Alli's not great in the air, nor is actually Eric Dyer, but it's weak marking. I mean, you can see exactly the man that Dele should be marking, so he's offering a bit of space, which is mistake number 1. You try and keep an eye on him. You're not even looking at the ball. In the end, he doesn't even get off the floor. That is very weak. You know, beforehand, Nuno would have told him, you're marking Thiago Silva, be strong, get the flight of the ball, put your arm across, leap off the floor. All very, very basic. And I've noticed a pattern, you know, over the years now, watching Tottenham, where any wide free kicks, any corners that come into the box, Tottenham don't defend them very well. And even when they win the first header, they get no height and distance on their clearances. Then in the end, you just think it's inevitable. And, you know, Kante got brought on the pitch, it's the pressure. Look where Rudiger is.
Yeah, look, Ndombele doesn't close down. Look, he's trotting, isn't he?
Rudiger steps into midfield. That's how comfortable they were, because Dion's right. When they've got Son and they've got Harry Kane, who's playing as a false 9, there's no one, you know...
But you need some intensity now. Get out to the man, don't you?
Yeah, they don't do it. What's Eric Dyer pointing at? You go and do it.
He's pointing at Højbjerg to go and do that.
Don't be asking Ndombele or someone to go and do your job. You go and do it. Yeah. You know, everyone's just passing the buck.
What we're saying about Tottenham, we've said about Arsenal for years. And this Tottenham performance in the second half looks like an Arsenal performance that we've seen for years, where I didn't see anybody holding anybody to account and pointing fingers. Goals went in and it was accepted.
I mean, to be honest, Tottenham were lucky it was only 3.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Chelsea could have scored 3 or 4 in the last 10 minutes.
Højbjerg's got Rudiger now.
Great movement from a centre-back, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Great movement from a centre-back.
Reguilon, pardon me, Reguilon's marking him, right? It is good movement, but in all honesty, he should be tracked.
Yeah.
You know, he's making a move, Rudiger, like a centre-forward. Now, someone's got to track him. Number 5, number 6, Reguilon. Someone's got to go with him. I mean, in the end, it's a very, very good finish from Rudiger.
You've got to make a tackle. You can't be allowed to strike the ball at your goal from 16 yards out. It's terrible defending. All of them stood with their hands on their hips, not really pointing at anybody. Centre-half puts finishing, by the way, but should never be able to strike the ball.
It felt before the game. It felt before the game it was going to be inevitable that Chelsea would win. I had exactly the same feeling when they played Arsenal. They're too good for Arsenal.
Yep.
They're too good for Tottenham. And Tottenham, since the start of the season, even though they chalked up a few wins, scruffy wins, that result was coming. Wolves should have battered them 5. Palace beat them 3. A lot of work for Nuno to do now.
Harry Kane had like 5 touches. If you can imagine the box, what he's attacking, and if you imagine another box outside, he had 5 touches. 2.5 touches in the box.
Do you remember he had none at Palace last week?
He was
playing in a slightly withdrawal role first half, wasn't he?
What is he doing here?
Playing off the left.
Look where he ends up. Look where he ends up, Harry Kane. Look where he's just in front of his centre halves.
I mean, I've got to say, you come up with a formation, you come up with a plan. Nuno made a massive error trying to play Son as the false 9 and Kane off the left. That's never ever going to work. You want now Harry Kane in the box. How is he meant to get on the halfway line now, 35 yards up the field to tap that in? I mean, there's basics and there's basics. And what you do with a striker like Harry Kane, you get him close to the 18-yard box. He can pass the ball, we've seen that, his stats are quite good. But he's almost operating for Tottenham now like a quarterback.
And inevitably, we will carry on having this conversation until January or next season. They go to Arsenal next weekend, which is a massive game. They may win at Arsenal, but it's not going to alter the fact that Tottenham are not going to finish in the top 4, is it? No. And it's not going to alter the fact that Harry Kane's going to be sitting here this morning going,
do you want that do you want that heat map from your centre forward? I wouldn't.
No. Do you know what I mean? He must be feeling pretty frustrated this morning, and he wouldn't be human if he weren't thinking, should I have pushed a bit harder? Should I have kicked off a bit more? I'm talking about in the summer. See, this conversation, it's a valid conversation to have.
What I don't understand as well is the more Harry Kane plays in that withdrawn position, his price is going to go down. His price tag's going to go down because he's going to score less goals. Fact. When you're playing with Harry Kane, if I'm playing centre-half and he's coming this close, I'm saying to him, get out the way. Yeah. Captain or not captain, I'm saying to him, get up the pitch, get out the way, this isn't your job. Go and score me 2 or 3 goals, win the game for us. And nobody will say that to Harry. Everybody's going, oh, here you are. Here's the ball. I'm scared of you. Here you are. You're the captain. Nobody's got any, no strength.
No.
Terrible.
You said he changed the intensity and tempo, did Kante, but there was more to it than that for you.
Well, he brought an energy to that Chelsea team that was missing in the first half, and well done to Tuchel for spotting that at half-time and changing it, because they were just OK and they weren't quite at it in the first half. But the second half, it was men against boys. It should have been 6 or 7. What he did was he enabled those two players to do that. Azpilicueta and Alonso much further higher up the park, and Tottenham really couldn't cope with the energy that he brought into the team. He gave them a little bit of protection. That one pass there, it wasn't all about him sitting in front of that back 4. He offered something going forward because he got the goal as well. But there's those 2 players again. It's Alonso or Azpilicueta coming at the far post. I said he offered things going forward. He offered protection as well. There's Alonso getting into the. I mean, those 2 I thought were superb. There were so many impressive performances from the Chelsea team today, but this was the main difference, is that he's there just in case they lose that ball. They go, they press, they could press a lot higher because of what he gave them. Also, that allowed him to get into that position. All right, the deflection, did his bit defensively as well, sets his team away. That guy again, Alonso, he's straight up the park. They're on the attack again. As I said, it should have been 6 or 7, and Tottenham just really couldn't cope with them. And that guy changed it at half-time, and it worked perfectly.
And so they had Alonso and Azpilicueta fly, and they had Kante adding to the shield with Jorginho and Kovacic, and then further back they had a rock.
Thiago, for me, was just outstanding. He's 37 next week, by the way. And what he does, he makes good decisions. He makes decisions look very easy, and he's in good shape. He's holding the line, can't play offside. Get myself into a defending area. Let me get to the near post because my partner's in the centre of the goals. I'll do that job. Shall I go for it? Shall I not? Yes, I'm going to commit myself. And he goes for it in exactly the same position. Shall I go for it? No, I'll just wait. I'll bide my time and I'll win the ball back instead of committing.
Experience.
It's experience and knowing exactly when to get forward in the box and get a goal for your team. He's just one of those players that leads. He knows when to go to ground. You very rarely see him go to ground for no reason. Again, nearly getting on the score sheet twice. And this happened all game. And he picks the ball up. He wants to go forward. He's looking for a pass. Nothing's on. He's brave enough to break the lines himself and try and get his team up the pitch. He did this all game. They looked to him, Chappers, to start things as well.
fully acclimatised to the Premier League.
Oh.
Yeah,
without a doubt. And what it is, it might have taken him two or three games, but what you'll see now, the players around him know they can trust him. He's a leader. He's a winner. Brilliant, brilliant.
Was his life made easier by Harry Kane's performance?
Absolutely, and Christensen's was, and Rudiger's was, because too many times that Harry Kane was quite content to sit in the midfield and try and direct things from the midfield. We know he's good at that. We know he can do that. But at times it's not helping him, and it's certainly not helping his team. He's pressed here, and eventually, I mean, Tottenham do very well to get out here. They play it very well, but just look what happens. Where the ball eventually ends up and where Harry Kane is. And he's 35 yards from goal when this ball goes into the box. They need him in the box, and they need him higher up the pitch, and he needs to do that as well. I've no doubt the goals will come again. He's an outstanding goal scorer. But when the defenders are doing that, they've hardly got anyone to mark. They are very content and very happy when Harry is doing that, because he's the best in the business at scoring goals, and he's not going to get too many when he's doing this. Look at Thiago Silva and Rudiger. They're happy all day when they can see him, when he's in front of them. And as I said, he can play passes. He's very, very good at doing that. Same thing again here. He's out wide on this occasion. Two centre-halves this time, Christensen and Silva. They've got no one to mark. The threat of Harry Kane in and around the 18-yard box was not there at all today. And he's got to try and get that balance right. Have a look at the touch map between him and Lukaku. In that danger area, Harry Kane touched the ball 5 times. Lukaku 17 times. And he didn't even have his best game today, Lukaku. So, as I said, that balance at the minute is certainly not there with Harry Kane. And he's got to get that right, because it not only affects him, it's affecting his team as well.
And you know what? There's another 10 players on that pitch as well. Why don't they say, Harry, get yourself up front? They won't say that.
Well, there's also a coach on the touchline as well.
Correct.
You'd be surprised if that was Nuno's instructions to him, wouldn't you? On the basis of Alan's analysis.
Yeah, but when you're playing the game, when you're in the moment, and you're a defender, and you're trying to pick a pass to one of your midfield players, you don't want the best striker in the world there on your toes. If you're brave enough, get out of the way.
I looked at that Tottenham team last week, and I looked at it today. They lack width. They lack creativity in the midfield, and Harry is trying to do all of that. We saw him on the right wing at times. We saw him far too many times in the midfield today, trying to spray those passes. He can do that, but not as often as he did try to do it last week, and certainly today.
I love Thomas Tuchel's post-match interviews because they're so analytical, aren't they? Kind of give so much away, which we're not used to seeing in the Premier League with managers. Took Mason Mount off, brought N'Golo Kanté on, and then explained exactly why he did that as well. What have you made, Farah, of Chelsea so far? The only drop points was that Liverpool game when they were down to 10 men at Anfield.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've had a fantastic start to the season, and you heard in his post-match interview about the decision to take off Mason Mount and bring in Kanté, and people would have thought it was a negative move. But he said Chelsea weren't at the races in the first half in terms of picking up those second balls. They needed more energy in midfield, and Kanté certainly did that for Chelsea in the second half, and probably was a game changer in terms of Chelsea getting that tempo back into their play.
Well, yeah, he's ruthless as well. He doesn't mind making big changes. There's no thought of hurting people's egos. Mason Mount, you've not been up to standard in the first half. That's enough. 45 minutes, you've had your chance, off you come. I've got a top-class World Cup winning international to bring onto the field, and he'll have a real impact on the game. So it's great the way he can see the game as it happens. It's great the way he can make decisions that impact the game. But he's also got the squad to be able to do that. So, yes, Spurs played well and really did compete in the first half, but Thomas Tuchel just found another avenue to go down in the second half, and Chelsea just blew Spurs away in that half.
Next Premier League game for Chelsea, Manchester City, repeat of the Champions League final. Tell you what, if they win that at Stamford Bridge, the early kick-off on Saturday, that would be a statement, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it definitely would, and he won 3 of them last year against Manchester City, 2 in the league and 1 in the Champions League final. So I think he's got the upper hand on Pep and Man City at the minute in terms of his tactics. I mean, they were all marginal games in terms of 1-0s. But yeah, I think tactically, Thomas Tuchel, for me, is fascinating. I'm fascinated with his tactics, the style of play, the way he adapts within game. And so I think it's going to be a tactical game next week against Man City.
You've already got them 5 games in. You've got them as title winners, Leon.
I don't know about title winners at this stage.
He's changed his mind. He wasn't saying that before.
If only we had a camera about 10 minutes ago.
I just think that they're looking really, really strong. And I think you're going to have to finish above Chelsea to win the league. I know that sounds Simple to say, but they just look strong in all areas. We're talking about Manchester City, probably lacking a striker. Manchester United, probably lacking a midfielder. Liverpool, have they got enough squad? But not with Chelsea. With Chelsea, they've got everybody in every area covered. So then you say, have they got the right manager to make the decisions? Well, you've seen today. He's ruthless. He's very clever and astute in his decision making. So I think they're certainly going to be right up there.
And listen to this. Next up for Tottenham, the North London derby at the Emirates. If Arsenal win at home by 2-0, they go above Spurs. Manager of the month, Nuno Espirito Santo for August. They were top of the table. All Spurs fans thought they were in the title race again. What's happened in the space of a couple of weeks?
You're right, and I think I think there was an over-exaggeration with Arsenal in terms of their first 3 games. I think they were expected to beat Brentford, and because they didn't, I think that the other 2 games against Chelsea and Manchester City made it even worse for Arsenal. But I think the games after the international break, in terms of teams they should be taking points off, they've gone and done that, and now they have a derby next week, which again, the form that they're in, and based off Spurs having 2 defeats, they're favourable for the win.
It makes it tense now, doesn't it? As you said, you're talking about a team in Spurs that were top of the league. Everything's going great with the new manager against an Arsenal side that were bottom of the league. The manager's only got 1 game to save his job. And now, if Arsenal were to win 2-0, they go above Spurs. What an incentive that is for Arsenal. And, there's that. I think that battle's going to run all season long between Spurs and Arsenal. I know it does naturally with the derby, but I think they're going to be around each other with success, and that'll be a real battle just to see who finishes top out of them two.
They've got to try and score 2, haven't they, in a game? They haven't done that yet.
There we go. The sword in the side from Williams. I like it.